Hi, I'm David Strickel, creator of the TYA Mindset Practice, and I am here for TYA Talk. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for participating if you're members of our Patreon community. And if you're watching this in the future on YouTube, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. This is where I come and talk about the TYA practice, which is a practical application of the stream's message. And I think that we are somewhat unique. There's lots of people channeling these days. I think we're all channels in our own way. I've said that many times before, and certainly there are more people than I've ever been aware of that are choosing to share their channeled message publicly. And there's lots of books out there, and there's lots of podcasts, and there's just lots of a lot of channeled guidance available out there. And I don't really pay much attention to what the others are doing, not because they don't have value. I think they do. But I really want the stream to be its own unique thing. And that has been my intention from day one of sharing this publicly when I started doing that back in 2017 on the Stream of David podcast, was to really allow the stream to develop in its own direction. And it absolutely did. It has, for those of you that have been listening for a while, the stream has delivered a lot of interesting and unique messages. And I think that we're somewhat unique in that we have created a mindset practice so that we can implement the stream's teachings as a way of life if we choose to do so. I'm a very solution-oriented person. I remember getting these, I've always called them downloads of thought, or these messages, and receiving this clarity, especially when I was in a very high vibrational state of being. In meditation or just in appreciation, things would just drop in sometimes. Sometimes when my worthiness was challenged externally, and I didn't necessarily agree with that challenge, even though it was being presented to me, that worthiness message was there for me, and that was a really important thing, a very valuable thing early on in my life. And being a solution-oriented person, however, I could understand the frustration of living in this 3D world that we live in, this matrix that we live in, where life seems very unfair, it seems very unjust. There's a lot of stressful things going on all the time. There's a lot of scary things going on all the time. And it seems like the worst of the worst is sort of served up and presented to us on a regular basis. And all of that, of course, creates stress and anxiety within us. And we know when we're stressed and we know when we're anxious because we feel it. It's expressed as an emotion and we feel it, and it doesn't feel as good as being confident and happy and feeling abundant. So we're all moving through this vibrational flow up and down our spiral, if you will, where we are moving through periods of high vibration, expansion, joy, clarity, and abundance. The top three things that I talk about all the time being the three things that we really seek as eternal beings here having this temporary human experience. And then we experience something less than that, all the way down to anger and despair and harmful thoughts toward others and toward ourselves. And we all know what that feels like as well. And we're all moving in between those emotions all the time. I came to understand fairly early on that abundance resided at the top of our vibrational spiral, that source is abundance. All of the messages that religions promote about their version of God or a supreme being, the common thread that I always see in those is that you've got to believe in the supreme being, or you've got to believe in source, because that is the source of all well-being, or what we call abundance. And when you're not believing in that, and i.e. trusting that, then you're having an experience that is going to be somewhat less than that, and certainly inconsistent with having a fully abundant life. What could I do to allow myself to systematically raise my vibration so that I was spending more time in that abundant space and less time in something less than that? Well, that's where TYA came from. I didn't call it TYA initially. I just called it, actually, I didn't call it anything. It was just my belief system. And then when I decided to make a course out of it to teach to other people, we called it Abundance Breakthroughs. And it was kind of a light course. It was really focused on people want to get over these abundance blocks in their lives. What's blocking your abundance? How do we detune that stuff? And from that came the full-blown TYA mindset practice. It happened magically and happened quickly. And then I started teaching TYA. As soon as we knew what it was, and we knew there were 4 pillars and that there would be these different tools to support the 4 pillars, the four pillars being the important things that we need to do on a daily basis to systematically raise our vibration. Appreciation of all that is, which aligns us with source. Detuning through appreciation, understanding polarity, understanding what source is and what source isn't, and how we separate ourselves from source, or what separation from source vibrationally really is. And of course, intention. What is it that we want to experience? We are here to discern preferences and move through a human experience, moving toward our preferences, avoiding our obstacles, but some of them are unavoidable. And then when we have an obstacle that's presented to us, which is our own creation, how are we choosing to go about that experience? Well, the depth of TYA, if somebody wanted me to sum up TYA in just a few words, and I don't usually sum up anything in just a few words, but it really is the authentic appreciation of all that is. What is TYA? What is it really all about? Sum it up, the authentic appreciation of all that is. And the reason that I don't usually leave it there is because inevitably, it sounds nice, but inevitably somebody who isn't in the vibration of that is going to push back and say, well, how in the hell can I appreciate war and famine and genocide and child abuse and sexual abuse and all of these, things that are not most of our preferences? How do you do that? Well, the TYA practice is the how. The authentic appreciation of all things is the what. But the four pillars of TYA and the supporting tools, and there are many supporting tools, as most of you know, that's the how. That's the how you get there. And I always tell people, if you're new to these teachings, don't try to imagine appreciation of the very worst things that you can possibly think of to start. That's your ego doing that. That's your ego saying, oh, no, here's something new, this new thing that's being presented to you that's going to take you out of your comfort zone. Let's stay exactly where we are. Let's fear anything that's different. Let's fear change. And let's certainly fear, if not even ridicule, something that is asking you to go so far out there in appreciation of all that is. So understand that that's your ego that pops up as a blocker, and you can choose to listen to that or not. And those of you that are subscribing or practicing the TYA practice, understand that that is a place that we are all striving for, that authentic appreciation of all things. Not one of us is there all the time, because again, we're vibrational beings, and certainly we're impacted by polarity as long as we're in physical form. So here we are in physical form, going up and down this virtual vibrational spiral, and most of us that are into the practice at all understand that when we're up, we're able to trust, we're able to believe, we're able to manifest magical things. We've all had magic show up in our lives as a result of being in a high vibrational state of being. But then we drop, and when we drop, we have a different opinion. But we also understand that being vibrational beings, we are not the same being down here as we are up here. We're just not. And when you know that, that's one of those things that even when you're down in the muck of that low vibration, you can maintain awareness that you're just in a low vibrational state of being. And down there, you have no business creating anything, because anything you create down there is going to be a vibrational match to your lower vibration. It's going to be a lower vibrational creation. It's going to be an obstacle. It's going to be the unraveling of something that is desired. It's going to be some sort of a lower vibrational interaction or manifestation. So we don't want to stay down there. We want to move ourselves up systematically up that spiral, understanding that we are still going to dip down. We're still going to move through vibrational flow. We're going to have those low vibrational moments, and understanding that there's value in those. And the sooner we recognize the value in the obstacle or the low vibrational manifestation, the sooner we go right back up. Because what are you doing when you recognize the value? You're appreciating. You are appreciating. And the way that we define appreciation, when we talk appreciation in the TYA practice, is deep understanding. You are understanding something so deeply that you are no longer judging it as wrong or should not be. That's appreciation. That's what we are seeking to do on all topics all the time. That is our practice. That is the focus of our practice, because that appreciation of all things is source. And if you have been around for a while, you know that I've taken a year-long break from trance channeling, where I really step back and allow the stream to flow directly. I have not done that at all in 2023 until recently. I just did it last week for a podcast that should be coming out this week. The podcast is the Stream of David podcast, and it's the return of the stream. So you'll see that. I want to guide all of you to watch that video. I rewatched it last night. I was clipping some things from it, and it's just was such an amazing experience to watch the stream flow again after having not allowed that way for a year. Now, certainly when I got into teaching, a lot of you have mentioned to me that you see the stream kind of come through when I get on a roll with teaching. They're not gone. They were never gone. I just wasn't going into that space where I could step my ego back, which I taught myself to do a few years ago, and allow them to just speak. And there was value in taking that year-long break. Absolutely there was. Certainly, after the house burning last year and all the things that happened, I just wanted to kind of step back from all of it and just offer kind of a very basic version of the TYA practice and boot camp. And it all kept going, but I certainly wasn't out promoting it the way that I was in years prior. But now we have the book. The TYA practice book is out. It's still doing well on Amazon. I'm going to spend 2024 and beyond promoting the book and the practice. And I felt like it was time to allow the stream to flow again. I did a long meditation that morning. I wasn't necessarily even planning to do a podcast. I'm really kind of kicking back in December, knowing I'm going to be really busy come January. And the guidance was very clear that it was time to allow them to flow again. And I'm glad that I did. It was absolutely incredible to hear from them again. And one of the things that I said last year, when I was obviously in a more of a spin out than I even realized at the time, that, what was the point of continuing to trans channel the stream other than just the performance of trans channeling for people who like that? I get it. And there is value in that, certainly. But the message is very consistent. We appreciate all things. You want to raise your vibration, appreciate exactly where you are and where you've been and what's going on. So I kind of felt like the stream didn't have a lot more to say. They came, they delivered a very clear message. We've created a mindset practice based on those teachings, and the practice really helps people transform their lives. And until I felt really guided to trans channel again, I just wasn't going to do it. And that could have been forever, or it could have been for a period of time. Well, it ended up being for about exactly a year, because I didn't trans channel at all after the fire. Today is the 1-year anniversary of the fire, by the way. December 19th is when I'm recording this. And we're going to go do a little saging ceremony at the house across the street and just kind of give it a little year blessing. It's been a year since the fire happened, and kind of acknowledge the anniversary of that event and what all it's given us. It's given us some pain and suffering, certainly, but it's certainly given us a lot of clarity and a lot of other gifts too from that experience. And the largest is just the expansion of consciousness that those of us who are directly impacted by it have experienced, having had the experience of having a home burn and having all of the things that, go along with that and follow that happen. So at a year anniversary, I was very much guided to channel again. And then last night and yesterday, actually, I worked on this, pulling some clips from the video to put on social media and things like that. And it really dawned on me that having that stream message flow and listening to it and hearing it over and over and over again, I can't hear it enough. I was so moved. If you watch or listen to the podcast all the way to the end, you'll see how moved I was by allowing that to flow once again in such a long time. And that listening to the trance channeled version of the stream, as opposed to the organic version that just kind of pops up, it is a different experience for all of us, for myself and for all of you that are into the stream. And I think it's important that we have so many separations from source built into our world that when you're tuning into my channeling of the stream, you are allowing yourself, your own version of that to light up within you. First of all, if you're really appreciating and loving it, then you are in harmony with the stream and you've got your own version of that, certainly. Whether it's delivering that level of clarity or not, that's individual. That's an individual journey, and there's no right or wrong answer to that. But immersing yourself in that message, even though you've heard it before and you're hearing it again, I get now how hearing it over and over and over again, it never gets old. Because what we're doing is we're transporting ourselves to that pure source space when the stream is flowing. And we are sort of balancing, if you will, all of the less than that information that we get from society. Certainly, there are glimmers of source in all interactions, and some more than others, especially when we're up our spiral. But there's a lot of stress in the world, and there's a lot of angst, and there's a lot of things on social media and news media, even our fiction. I watched a movie last night on Netflix. It was a new Julia Roberts movie. I really adore Julia Roberts, so I'll just watch anything that she's in. And it was kind of a doomsday type scenario, and I'm watching it, and of course those thoughts creep in. Wow, this could really happen. This could be real. This could happen tomorrow. And then I catch myself and I'm like, no, it's just a movie. I'm not going to absorb this as my reality. I'm not going to create some mini version of this in my life because I'm going to, give this fiction power. I can choose to do that, but it just shows you what feeding on that diet of less than appreciation can do for you. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind watching the news and reading, the New York Times now, and participating in 3D humanity, because when my vibration dips in the judgment of it, I'm acutely aware that, hey, my vibration just dipped a little bit, and it's because I am starting to buy into what I'm absorbing. But I can absorb something, I can experience something, and not allow it to lower my vibration in the judgment of it. Remember, when we are observing something and it's something horrific or terrifying or scary, and we feel that dip in vibration, it's not because we're observing something that we're probably already aware of. Somewhere in our mind, we're aware that most of these things happen or are happening, but it's the judgment of should not be. That's the thing that lowers our vibration. I have found that I can read about something where people are losing their lives, and it's something that in the past certainly would have dropped my vibration. I can observe that through the eyes of source, because we're all capable of doing that, and not judge it as should not be, and simply be aware of it. And it's a very interesting experience to be able to observe humanity, the imperfection of humanity, and see through the eyes of source the perfection of imperfection of it all. Understanding that we're all eternal beings here having a temporary experience, and there's no suffering that happens to any being on earth that is eternal. It's a temporary experience. Certainly fear and terror and suffering and you crossing over back to non-physical, all of those things are things in certain ways we're all going to experience on different levels at some point. We know that the crossing over part is inevitable for us. We're not in these physical vehicles forever. We're in these physical vehicles for a temporary amount of time, and there's going to be a crossing over experience for us and everyone that we know. We know that. And it's interesting how our matrix teaches us that that's wrong and shouldn't be, and it's the worst thing that ever happens. But that's only a matter of opinion. It's just a learned judgment that we've all absorbed that we can detune. And when you do, you can then observe what's going on in humanity in appreciation of it, as opposed to the should not be vibration. And it's a very different experience when you teach yourself to do that. That's the crux of the TYA practice, authentic appreciation of all that is. And we're all at different levels of this practice. I have been practicing TYA because I created it. I've been practicing it longer than anyone else. So I love to come on as the oldest or longest practicing practitioner and share with you where I am in my TYA journey, because my intention is for that to be helpful to all of you. Those of you that hear this and it makes sense to you, especially when you're up your spiral and you want to be there, but you know you're not there all the time. I seek to be inspiring with my journey of imperfection in my TYA practice. That's what TYA Talk is really all about, is coming on and just talking about the practice and how it's serving my expansion of consciousness, how it serves my abundant life. And my life is abundant. And my life is abundant, I know, as a result of my TYA practice. I know it is. I look around sometimes just in amazement at how wonderful life is. Not perfect, but how great life is, and how abundant it actually is for me, because I have really let go of the how and allowed the universe to deliver well-being as it will. The end result is abundance. The end result is well-being. And the trip there is so satisfying because I let go of the reins and stop trying to control how we achieve the desired outcome of joy, clarity, and abundance. So listening to the stream over and over and over again, I get it. I will be trance channeling a lot more. I'm going back to it. I'm not going to do it, 2 or 3 times a week or anything like that, but certainly regularly in the podcast and in live interactions and things like that, I will be doing it more. I took a break. I may take a break again in the future. I don't know. This is all this winding twists and turns of where I am in my life and what I'm allowing. And the stopping of the trance channeling was really just a result of the twists and turns that I had manifested for myself last year in 2022, rolling into 2023. I just wasn't up for it. I needed to step away from it for a while. And if I am not up for authentically sharing the stream with you, I'm not going to do it. I don't have a desire to force myself to share the stream in a scenario because it's what's expected of the audience or from the audience. I'm going to do it when it's authentically flowing. And I can get myself there, certainly, but I do see the need that I had for taking some time away. And I'm glad that I've moved through that experience. I'm very happy that it's flowing again. I didn't have to learn how to ride the bicycle again. I simply quieted my mind. I took a few deep breaths, went on to the recording, and just let it flow. And that's exactly what it did. So I hope you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast. Certainly, I love to hear your comments as always. So let me know what you think of the return of the stream. You won't have to wait a year to hear from them again, I promise. I'm going to be channeling on the podcast pretty regularly, the Stream of David podcast. And then I'll resume the TYA Practice podcast as well, because I think that needs to be separated out to where we're really focused in one podcast on the practice itself, whereas the Stream of David is going to kind of go back to the way it was in the beginning, where it really is the stream flowing. So here's the stream and here's their message, and you can absorb that and be in the presence of that anytime you want on demand with the Stream of David podcast and other live events and stuff that we're going to do. And then here's the TYA practice, which is the practical application of that message. That's the way we've set it up. I hope it's serving all of you well. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for watching TYA Talk. If you're watching this in real time on Patreon, it is the holiday season. It's the week of Christmas. So I want to take this opportunity to wish all of you happy holidays, Merry Christmas. And we will be back. We won't be on the week of Christmas. We will be on the week after that, back in January. I think it's January 1st or 2nd that we'll be back on. So thanks a lot for taking the time to watch. I look forward to seeing your comments.